With Zack Snyder's Justice League and possibly more on the horizon, I thought now would be an excellent opportunity to flesh out the beauty that is the Aequitas t-shirt design that Zack made back in 2019. What's amazing about this entire design is how it correlates to the entire story arc in which Snyder was or is building with these characters. While a lot of this is interpretation, I want to make sure you are aware that there could be unintended spoilers throughout this video. Now let's start with the Tree of Life. It's important to point out that the similarities between the designs Snyder chose in comparison to that of the Tree of Life diagram. This specific diagram has been used over the course of generations in various mystical traditions, usually consisting of 10 nodes symbolizing different archetypes. These nodes, or archetypes, are then connected by 22 lines. Finally, we see the nodes in 3 columns representing and belonging to a common category. In the case of the design used by Snyder, we see that each node holds a logo of a Justice League member. At the very top, we have Superman, followed by Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg, Batman, and at the very bottom, a baby. The placement of these nodes is not accidental, and in actuality is what really tells the story of what will be unfolding in the coming months and years from Zack Snyder. While Snyder has deviated slightly from the Tree of Life symbol, the structure and basis of what it represents is still very relevant with what is being shown in his image. Aequitas. Aequitas is a Latin concept of justice, equality, conformity, symmetry, or fairness. This is where the English word equality is derived from. At the top of the tree, we see this word which helps symbolize and convey justice. Let's not forget that while this is very much a Superman arc, that we are witnessing one of the most important aspects of this story, which is that of the Justice League and how Superman is the symbol where these heroes will join him in the sun. With that, the idea of equality and fairness is very much a part of what will be driving Snyder's story forward. Looking at Node 1, which is Superman and the Sword. Superman's symbol of hope is placed on this first node known as Keter. This is described as regal or godlike. Placing his symbol within a circle insinuates the perfection of this being. The interesting part of this is that it sits at the pommel of the sword. A pommel is what helps keep balance of the weapon, evenly distributing the weight. In addition, it is a guard in which would prevent the weapon from slipping out of the wielder's hand. The symbol is also shown as radiating. Again, the symbol here in Snyder's iteration is the symbol of hope. Superman is not only bringing hope to the world, but is viewed upon as a god. Throughout history, we have often seen pictures of Jesus Christ depicted with a mighty presence of radiant light behind him. In these films, there has been a heavy Christian influence on the birth, life, and death of Superman. The crossguard of this sword is inscribed with Greek symbols with a rough translation of, "I will come." While this is speculation, it is safe to assume that this insinuates Superman's resurrection after his death in Batman v Superman, which leads to what the sword itself symbolizes. The sword has multiple meanings with the tree here, but as for connecting to Superman, the fact that it is double-edged signifies Superman's death and Superman's might. In a very on-the-nose way, Superman was stabbed by the Doomsday creature. Swords go hand in hand with being stabbed. As for Superman's might, he is the one who will be at the center of the story to save the world. As we look further down the tree, we see the sword is going through multiple objects. As mentioned, Superman is the center of the story, running the course of the entire arc of what Zack is creating. First, we see the sword going through the planet Earth, symbolizing his arrival, life, and death. Next, we see the sword going through a table, which has the Omega symbol representing Darkseid. The word Cortland is written on the side. Cortland is an Old English word meaning land of court. In addition to the strong Christian symbolism within the arc, Snyder is also influenced by the King Arthur legend. The table here is circular to symbolize the round table of Arthur's, or in this case, Superman's knights. We see 6 swords sticking out, which signifies the other members of the League throughout the series. Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, Flash, and Green Lantern. Finally, the sword is all but penetrating a coffin with the letter W written on it. For those unaware, Snyder's story would see the fall of Bruce Wayne's Batman, as he would sacrifice himself for the greater good. It is poetic in a way when you consider, in Batman v Superman, Bruce had lost his way and was ready to kill Clark. While the Martha moment began to pull Bruce out of the darkness, it wasn't until he saw Superman's sacrifice that he understood Clark was a symbol that he and everyone should get behind. The death of Batman is what transpires near the end of the story, thus being at the end of the sword. Let's take a look at the pillars. Referred to as Boaz and Jachin, these pillars, according to the Bible, were 2 copper, brass, and bronze pillars which stood on the porch of Solomon's temple, which just so happened to be the first temple of Jerusalem. Traditionally, it seems that these pillars were built outside entrances to sacred temples or places in which they were to guard. Within the context of what Snyder is doing, these pillars represent the protectors of the earth, the sacred land. On one side, the pillar is of old Greek design with a bundle of wheat tied to it and an 8-pointed star, or a sun, with an eye inside. This represents the protectors of old, or the old gods. On the other, you have a more modern-looking tower with a cog on top. Hidden within that cog appears to be a crescent moon. This represents modern day, or the heroes of a new age. Both pillars are shown watching over the earth as the protectors. The framing of the words between, betwixt, or onward, inward, helps in solidifying the gate aspect of these pillars. To access the world, you must first take on Earth's protectors. The DNA strand and the chain on either side signify the differences and struggles the heroes go through. The DNA is most recognizable as imagery for metahumans. Not fully human, but not fully godlike either. The chain represents being bound and stuck in a world they don't believe they belong. The broken link shows these characters, Aquaman and Cyborg, will eventually break through and find their place. AC 23 and 3.5. AC 23 simply refers to Action Comics number 23, which was the introduction to Superman's arch nemesis, Lex Luthor. Interesting note, this is also referenced in Batman v Superman, as his prisoner number is AC 23 1940, Action Comics 23, the year 1940, the issue and year that Luthor was introduced to the world. In Batman vs Superman, Lex talks a great deal about knowledge. The bittersweet pain among men is having knowledge with no power. The book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 5, "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." This is representing Lex discovering the truth about who or what is coming. The good, the evil, the impending threat. However, Lex is misguided just as Adam and Eve were by the evil essence. Lex believing Superman is the evil one, it's a deep cut, but one that delves further into the character of Lex and his drive in bringing down Superman. He is imbued with knowledge but no power. That is until he uses his knowledge to create his strength. Doomsday. Node 2, Aquaman. Aquaman is depicted within a hexagon in the top right corner. The trident and a 7-pointed crown signifies how Arthur will become the rightful king of the 7 seas. His placement on the tree is called Chokmah, meaning wisdom. This can also be associated with a planet which Chokmah is Neptune, which received his name for the Roman god of the sea. This pillar also represents male and is the embodiment of primal male energy. Node 3, Wonder Woman, is depicted with a hexagon in the top left corner. The eagle, carrying a sword, displays supreme power and could possibly refer to her father Zeus, who is often connected to the majestic eagle. Wonder Woman's uniform or armor also cleverly depicts an eagle on the breastplate. Finally, the sword the eagle is carrying is symbolizing the difference between the typical olive branch or arrows seen in many depictions of an eagle, the sword signifying a warrior. Diana's story is that of holding great power, yet walking away from mankind after a century of horrors. It will be Superman and Batman who pulls her back in a call to arms. The node of which she is part of is called Bina, on the Tree of Life meaning understanding. This is the third node on the tree, which can be associated with planet of Saturn. Unlike the connection with Aquaman's node in the planet of Neptune, there doesn't appear to be a connection here for Wonder Woman and Saturn. Node 4 Cyborg is depicted inside of a pentagon in the bottom right of the symbol. The book with boxes on the pages signify that Cyborg is blessed, or in some opinions, cursed, with knowledge. We know that in the Snyder Cut of Justice League, Cyborg is the heart of the story. His story is tragic and of loss. He is tormented by his past, but through this story he will find peace and kindness within. The node in which he is represented on the Tree of Life is that of Netzah. The meaning of, or translation, is eternity, and can refer to victory or endurance. Vic Stone in some iterations is known as Victory Stone because of his football abilities. Nice little nod there. But overall, his cyberneticness is also a symbol of endurance, never-ending supply of power. Node 5, the Flash, is also depicted inside of a pentagon, but is shown on the bottom left of the symbol. The hourglass with wings and a scythe represents Flash's ability to control time when entering and exiting the Speed Force. We know that time travel will be a big part of the story Snyder is telling, and will we see multiple timelines in which some heroes, and or their loved ones, die, while other timelines will show the survival of heroes and their loved ones. The fifth node is that of Hod. It is described as a force which breaks down energy into different distinguishable forms. In a way, this is the yin to the yang of Netzach. Hod being associated with intellectuality and learning, while Netzach is power or energy to overcome all limitations. Both will be needed to overcome and understand the use of the Speed Force and time-traveling elements. Node 6 is Batman, and is depicted inside a diagonal square. What's most interesting, though, is how he is represented by both the book with the boxes inside, like Cyborg, as well as the hourglass with wings and a scythe like the Flash. Bruce's journey through this story is rather intricate. He is cursed with knowledge of the Nightmare Timeline and then also being affected by Flash's time traveling. If not for the interactions with Flash through the Speed Force, he would not have this knowledge, nor would he be able to help rectify their wrongs in their battle against Darkseid. We also know Bruce will die in this story, as explained with the coffin. However, his death will only come to fruition by the Flash manipulating time and fixing the past. The node on which Batman sits is called Yesod, and is described as the foundation on which the world was built. He is the balance of two worlds, the otherworldly such as Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Superman, and that of man. He is the soul of the League, and in a way the complete opposite of Keter, Superman. Node 7, the Union, which is the final node, is that of a child. As much as this story is about Superman, Batman also does a lot of the heavy lifting here. With the sacrifice that Bruce makes, he essentially saves the woman Clark loves, Lois. Because of this, Superman and the rest of the League are able to defeat Darkseid and his apocalyptic army, saving the world from imminent destruction. Lois and Clark, because of their union, end up having a child. Without Bruce's sacrifice, this would never have happened. And because of that, they named their child Jonathan Bruce Kent, or Bruce Jonathan Kent. This node is referred to as Malkuth and is associated with the word bridegroom. Unlike the other nodes, this one does not emanate from God or Superman, but rather from the creation of God. It's a beautiful and heartbreaking story for Bruce. He had fallen so far, but because of the hope that Superman shone across the world, he was able to come back into the light, becoming a creation of all Superman stands for. So where does this leave us? Zack's 5-part story arc is truly something to behold. While there are many out there who are critical of how he portrays these characters, we have to remember this arc would eventually bring everything around. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, Aquaman, all have a journey they must go through to become the heroes they were meant to be. Simply giving them no real obstacles and making them these symbols of heroism is unrealistic and played out. The excitement and passion shown by the fans for the upcoming release of Zack Snyder's Justice League cannot be ignored. They realize that there is money to be made here. The question is not if Snyder will be given the green light to complete this arc, but rather when. As we sit here now, there is so much on the horizon, and the sky is the limit. Thanks for watching, guys, and make sure you hit that like button if you like what you just saw. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more videos like this or my podcast, Bridging the Geekdoms. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to all of you later.